Hello and welcome to today's Delta Credit Tip. So you're going off to get a mortgage and you got to decide, do I want a pre-qual letter, do I want a pre-approval letter, or do I want a commitment letter? Which one holds the most weight and which one do you want? Stay tuned, we'll tell you which on today's Delta Credit Tip. Hello and welcome back to today's Delta Credit Tip. So you've got your credit all cleaned up, you're out to get a mortgage, and before you go shopping for that house, you go to your lender and they give you either a pre-qual letter, a pre-approval letter, or a commitment letter, okay? What we don't want is to get all the way through this underwriting process, get all this money spent on trying to buy a home, only to get declined at the very end. When you thought, well, wait a minute, I was pre-approved. I had a pre-qual letter. I had a commitment letter. Why is this loan not going through? And this can be very confusing because of the different levels of underwriting that each type of letter provides you, right? How far into the process does each of these letters go to ensure that you're going to get the loan that you're expecting to buy that house that you seek? Okay, this whole pre-approval process extends everything from mortgages to cars to credit cards, and it's about time we try to figure out, well, really what's going on with this letter and how does it really apply to my lendability in making this purchase, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go on a field trip and we're going to go talk to one of our lenders and see exactly what's behind this whole pre-qual, pre-approval commitment letter issue. All right, I'm here with my friend Glenn Wu of AmeriFirst. You've been a mortgage lender for some time now, right, Glenn?
Yeah, it's been a few years.
It's been a few years. Well, Glenn, I need your help. We've been talking about this whole notion between getting a pre-approval versus getting pre-qualified for a loan and still end up either getting declined or having problems along the way. What is the deal behind a pre-qual versus a pre-approval?
That's a great question, and I get that. I get that question almost on a daily basis because the truth of the matter is the definition depends on who you ask. You can ask one lender what a pre-approval is to them and ask another lender and they'll have two completely different definitions.
Okay. So they can use them interchangeably is what you're saying sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no set definition, but I know for myself personally what a pre-approval means is we've collected the documents, your pay stubs, tax returns, bank statements. We've submitted that into underwriting so that an underwriter is going to review everything. They're going to verify income, verify assets, and then they're going to run it through the automated underwriting system.
Okay.
And if at that point we have an approval, then that to me is considered pre-approved.
So take me back through this process. So you're a loan officer for AmeriFirst, and what you're going to do is you're going to take the information from the consumer and you're going to submit it to an underwriter, and that underwriter's job is then their job is to either
Underwrite
approve
the file,
or not approve that loan based on the guidelines of that lender.
Correct.
So what you're saying is with your pre-approval, you've actually sent that information to the underwriter. They've looked at it and they've made at least a preliminary decision. Yes, we're going to go ahead and move forward with this.
Yes.
But we need the information on the house first.
Correct.
Right.
With the pre-approval, everything is verified, and what we would be waiting for is the contract, purchase contract,
right?
The appraisal to come in acceptable, and then the title insurance, making sure that the title is clean and that
make sure they can sell what they're trying, that they own what they're trying to sell.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So let me ask you, with the mortgages, that's what you're saying is for at least with AmeriFirst, the pre-approval is kind of like gold, right?
Oh,
but if I get a pre-approval in the mail from Capital One, that's something completely different.
Yeah. And you can almost every time look at the bottom of that flyer that's being sent to you, and there's always going to be some fine print, and the fine print will almost always say this is still contingent upon you applying and going through our process of underwriting and officially getting approved.
And it's probably the same with all those pamphlets you get in the mail from those mortgage lenders too, right? Like
absolutely.
What are the Quicken Loans kind of companies?
They're simply pulling information usually off of the credit bureaus. So they have information knowing that you do have a current mortgage, They have systems that will calculate approximately how much equity you should have if you had been paying the mortgage regularly. And based on that information, it's a lead to them. And they'll mail letters out saying you're pre-approved, but
really not,
you still have to go through the process of applying. You still have to have your credit pulled. You still have to jump through all the hoops to see if you can truly be approved.
So that's all the pre-approval stuff. But what's up with the pre-qualification?
Pre-qualification is not necessarily a bad thing. I do pre-qualifications as well. I make it very clear with my clients, though, that this is a pre-qualification. And what that means is we've gathered your documents, we've reviewed the credit report, we've reviewed the documents myself, not the underwriter. And based on that review, it looks like we're getting an approval through the automated system. If we do obtain the approval through the automated system, that is a pre-qualification. I can pick up the phone and call the client and say, you're pre-qualified, and what that means is, based on your application and the documents that I reviewed, what you're asking for as far as a loan amount is acceptable, and we can issue a pre-qualification letter.
Right, but it's not really a pre-approval until they've submitted their paperwork. The underwriter says okay, and then you've gone through the whole process of picking the house and making sure the house is appropriate. Because again, we don't want to say, okay, yeah, you're pre-approved, but you're trying to find a $500,000 house on a $200,000 budget. Okay, well, that makes a whole lot of sense. So, so that should hopefully help us clear up the idea behind a pre-qual versus a pre-approval. But either way, you're going to want to talk to that lender and see, well, how far is this really going to go, and how many more steps have we really got to do to get approved? And you should be able to tell that by how much information you've submitted.
Correct. I've had situations where I've come in as the secondary mortgage lender. Maybe these buyers have started the process with somebody else, and for multiple reasons they wanted to get a second opinion, so they were referred to me. My questioning with them when I first talked with them would be, how far have you gotten with that lender? If they say we've been pre-approved, then I'll dig a little deeper. I'll ask questions like, what have you provided? Have you provided your tax returns? Have you provided your bank statements? And if they say yes, then I'll go further and ask, have they put this in front of an underwriter? Has it gone through a full underwriting review, or is the loan officer basing the approval decision off of their review? Because that's not necessarily a bad thing, but ultimately the underwriter is the person that's going to be signing off on the approval. So we want the underwriter to make that decision, not necessarily the loan officer.
So let me ask you this. So correct me if I'm wrong. There's a third document you might want to look for, and that's called a commitment letter, right?
Yes.
So commitment letter is that stronger than the pre-qual and a pre-approval, or what is the
commitment letter? Is really going to be your most solid document that you could receive from any lender or any mortgage broker. We do issue loan approvals and loan commitments with that pre-approval. So what that means is we did collect everything. We had the underwriter review everything, and after that review, once they submitted it into automated underwriting, they have that approval. So with that approval, you really get two things. Number one, no surprises. We're looking at everything up front. There's not going to be any question after you've gone under contract whether or not you can remain approved for this loan. And the second thing is, we save so much time because we're doing everything up front. As soon as you go under contract, we don't need to re-underwrite the file. As soon as you're under contract, we're ready to order the appraisal, the title report, and we're ready to close this thing in 2 weeks or less.
So if they got more questions on how the pre-approval or pre-qualification works, or maybe they just want to go buy a house, right? And you live in the state of Florida, right? How do they reach you, Glenn?
Well, best way to reach me would be to call my cell phone. I have my cell phone on me all the time. I let my clients know they can reach out via text or call. And my number is 813-506-7947.
Awesome. And if you got comments, put them below. Questions, put them below. Either myself or Glenn would be more than happy to get back with you. Well, hopefully this information will help. If so, give us that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so that every Thursday as we come out with more information on helping you in your credit restoration process or home buying process, you get it right out of the gate. And hopefully this information will help you make a choice, make a change. Delta.